Grand Rising, and good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're watching it, or even what time you're watching it. I just want to start off by saying thank you to everyone that reached out, that left some words of encouragement. It was definitely much needed because you know the ideology that I currently hold and will continue to hold going forward is something that's very taboo in nature for people of color to have. They're looked at as coons. They're looked at as Uncle Toms. Looked at as traitors to their own race. Blah blah blah, all that. And it's one thing to have that ideology and just keep an eternity to be afraid to speak up. It's another. It's another thing to be firm in your belief to be able to speak up and just deal with any backlash that comes. And I did get some backlash, not necessarily from here, but some close family members and friends. But it's fine. They don't pay any of my bills. They they don't contribute to my life outside of different ways, but they don't contribute to my life in a financial means where my belief system changing affects me from a financial standpoint. My family would always be my family. My friends, if they don't agree with me, they could just go. They could leave. They could not talk to me. It's fine. That's not going to change my belief system because you're threatened by somebody with a different belief than you. I'm not against anybody, any race, color, creed, or anything. What I am against is us denying the freedom of speech, us on the left making it seem like freedom of speech is only what they say and what they predict and nothing more. And that's what I kind of want to talk to you today. We all know about the Jonathan Isaac that stood up for the national anthem, but still was protesting for Black Lives Matter, but in his own way. He didn't wear the shirt. He protested in a different way because he's with what the movement is supposed to be. He's not with what it's becoming and where it's going. And he made that clear in his press conference. He mentioned Jesus several times. Now that I said that on YouTube, who knows what's going to happen to my algorithms? But he mentioned the Lord several times, mentioned the Bible, and he was just met with a lot of backlash from people of color. And my frustrating thing is, are we becoming what we hate as people of color? And what I mean by that is, and if this doesn't pertain to you, if you're not that, there's no reason for you to be upset. The only people who are going to get mad about what I'm saying are people who know deep down that what I'm saying is true. Because we're so focused on, you black this, black that, which is awesome. Everybody should have pride in their, where they come from, but we're all the human race. I'm gonna get into a separate video about where the word racism stems from, and what it means. We're all part of the human race, but we all have pride in our own cultural, in our differences, and that's great. You should, but we shouldn't let that pride overwhelm us to the fact that at the end of the day, we're all still human. We should respect one another's differences, and we don't, especially on the left. As long as you believe what they believe, the way they believe it, you're not considered hate speech. Your freedom of speech isn't threatened, and you're not threatened to be canceled on any social media platforms. But the left doesn't realize, the far left doesn't realize, because I think there's a difference between like the far left and the actual liberals. There's a key difference. And you guys who I know who are educated, who have been researching, who have been discovering things from now know what I'm talking about. But the far left is they're consuming the liberals to the point where what the far left believes essentially is going to be just the left overall. And liberals are kind of like, I know some liberals, some people who are like liberals. There are some liberalistic views that make sense to me and that I agree with, but overall I'm not one. But my friends who are more on the liberal leaning but not the far left even understand that there's an issue on the side of the fence, because the far left will cancel anything. They riot for everything. They almost throw tantrums. Um, and Jonathan Isaac was a result of one of those tantrums, because he didn't protest the way y'all felt. He should have. He's this, he's that, And then, the brother gets hurt. He had a season-ending knee injury, and I saw a lot of just detestful, hateful comments about, oh, that's because he didn't kneel. Oh, since he didn't kneel, this is what happened. Oh, Jesus would have done. I'm like, whoa, one of our brothers is hurt. Like, this is his job, and he's hurt. He can no longer pretend his job. Would you do that to anybody else outside of it? If they, let me put it to you this way for some people. If you're working with somebody, whether it be office job, a trade skill position, healthcare worker, whatever, and they have a different belief system from you, a different way of protest, it's a different way that's not threatening to your way of life or anybody. Because there is hate in this world, but their different belief system is just what they believe, but it doesn't threaten you as an individual or anybody else. And then they get hurt on the job. Are you going to laugh at them? Because if they are, you are the hateful individual. If you are going to make memes and make funny, there's something wrong with you, and you are becoming that for what you hate. I can guarantee you, most people in America, white, black, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native American, most of them realize that America is better than what it was before. Yes, we still have issues, and yes, I believe those need to be addressed, but to sit there and make it seem as if we're in a second civil rights movement, it's just asinine. I really encourage people who have the ability to the resources to either read, research, or discover, to really understand the civil rights movement, to really understand slavery and everything in where America is today, and see the progression that actually has been made. And we also, like anything, we still have to continue. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, and we still need to go, forward. But right now we're regressing. We're dividing ourselves, becoming divisive. The far left is a huge problem for that, because anybody that has a separate ideology, whether it's on college campuses or anything, they're canceling their speech, they're protesting, they're rioting, they're burning up neighborhoods, all that because somebody believes differently from you. And that's a huge problem. And, I hope my boy recovers well and he's able to perform his job and able to get back to basketball. But you don't get the right to tell somebody how to protest, because some people are protesting with kneeling, and as a veteran, I actually don't mind it, because regardless of how other people see it, that's still their right. It's still their right, and I'm fine with it to an extent. But what I'm not fine with is people getting mad because somebody decides to protest. Um, they decide to protest differently than kneeling, because then you're doing exactly what you hate. So a lot of people against the kneeling. The far left has a problem with, oh, well, you should let us kneel, blah, 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 da, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But then how do you get on Jonathan Isaac because he decided to do something different? And that's the hypocrisy that I just made me really realize how hypocritical the far left is, and how if we don't watch it, they're going to be the reason we go into a second civil war. Not the conservatives, because it's funny. There are some racist conservatives. There are. And just for the ones who are on here, heaven isn't segregated, you guys. But most aren't. Most conservatives aren't racist. Most conservatives aren't this, like, the essentially the devil that the Democrats and the far left paint them out to be. And it took me a while to really get to that myself. I used to always think, oh, you conservative, I associate that with being racist right away. Because my conditioning, the news outlets, the articles I chose to read, the friends I had, it's just my conditioning. But you know what I did? I realized, I feel like I'm being what I hate, what I'm against. I feel like what I'm becoming that for what I'm against. So let me really research the other side. And as you know, Candace Owens and Charles, they made sense. Like a lot of what they say makes sense. It's not emotionally charged. It's not running on pure emotions. It's backed by facts. It's backed by all that. And so my frustration thing with the Jonathan Isaac situation in the protest is you don't get to decide how somebody protests. If you think you should be allowed to kneel, then he should be allowed to stand. That doesn't make him a coon. That doesn't make him an unotime. That doesn't make him any of this. That makes him firm in his own belief system. And the other issue I had is making people apologize multiple times. With Drew Brees, you know, for me, I do personally believe his comments showed a little bit of like maybe he doesn't understand the other side. But here's what he did. Exactly what people keep asking for, but do you really want this? He reached out, he talked to the players, and he's like, okay, that actually makes sense. I didn't see that side of things. And for y'all don't know, I'm a huge Saints fan. So when I came out with Brees, I wasn't like, oh, cancel Brees, burn his jersey. First of all, he still got paid, so I don't understand the burning jersey thing. But I wasn't doing any of that. I was just like, let me just wait to see it play out. And it's one thing for him to understand and for him to be like, I do understand it and I'm sorry I didn't really see that. But then you're making him apologize more. I've done seen 2 or 3 articles where he had apologized multiple times. He shouldn't have to do that. There was a discussion. He apologized. And he really, truth be told, didn't even necessarily have to apologize the first time. He could have had the discussion with his team, been like, okay, I do understand more. Maybe I was a little off, but I still hold my own values. Okay, we can agree to disagree. And I'm sure most of his team was with that. But then, and here's the other thing that I found very interesting, is that Drew Brees has done a lot for the community. A lot. Him and his wife have done a lot for the community of New Orleans, and people just don't realize that. They don't research. They just get trigger happy. They're just triggered, and they're not even triggered in a way to stimulate their mind to come to a different narrative. Just triggered and just cancel Brees, do that. And I'm like, Brees has probably been one of the most like level-headed, calm, down-to-earth, God-fearing individuals that I've seen in the NFL sports realm. He hasn't been in any scandals. He hasn't been in it. He's had his nose cleaned, for lack of a better terminology. He hasn't, been arrested for robbing and none of that. So, for him to have to continue to apologize was an issue, and that's where I see more with college kids just being soft. They can't take anybody that doesn't believe as they do. They only want certain ideology. I've seen several videos of, people just trying to have a open discussion, trying to have a constructive dialogue. And sometimes it works. Sometimes people are triggered. And they're spitting, they're throwing bricks, they're yelling, they're pushing, they're fighting them. What are you doing? And that's that mob mentality. And if we don't watch it and we don't get it under control, we will be heading to regression. Martial law will be in effect. Y'all really got to research and read, because this isn't just about a race thing. This is just to get more control over the people. Y'all letting these mass shootings by these criminals dictate our gun laws. Criminals don't follow laws. Making more laws or banning stuff does not hurt anybody but the law-abiding citizens. And you can argue, oh, there's no such thing as a good guy with a gun. Okay, so if something happens or somebody breaks into your house and your family is slaughtered in front of you, keep that same energy then. Because just like car insurance, just like health insurance, I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I don't get in my car hoping I get in a car accident. I don't walk around or go day to day hoping I end up in a hospital. But if I did, I'm covered. Same thing where if something's threatened my life or the life of my family. So get off of that narrative, like, and really research the other side and really see what's really going on. Take some time to educate yourself just from CNN and MSC and all these stations that are pushing a certain agenda and just care about ratings. Take the time and the energy to do that. And you might have a war with inside yourself. I did, but allow yourself to be open to listening and seeing another side. That's the only way we can get things done. That's the only way we can get better. We need to address our own issues in the black community. We need to fix our own issues as well. I mean, the Asians did it. They were started from internment camps, and they're now one of the richest minority group of minorities in this country. So it can be done. It can be done. And I don't like how the billionaires and millionaires are pushing this agenda that America is so racist that black people can't get anywhere. And again, I always like to say, because I recognize that there are isolated incidences where those issues do take place, but it's not universally America. And you got people like Oprah, who's worth the billions of dollars, saying, "Oh, America's racist." Well, how are you worth billions of dollars in Oprah? How do you have your own net worth? And you did all this starting from the 80s. So how is what you're saying true? How? Um, let me know some other topics I want to hear. I'm definitely just kind of like filling this channel out, seeing where I want to go. I'm all about unity. I'm all about progression. And I'm really about connecting us back, seeing both sides. I see both sides. I see the issues. But in order to really get there, one side has to be listening to the other. And I only see that one way. A lot of debates I watched from both sides, both from liberal channels and conservative channels. So I didn't, and each time it's liberals yelling and the mob chanting for them, and they're screaming, and they're just disrupting a constructive dialogue. So yeah, peace, love, and positivity, progression is what we need. That's the only way to get America back on track. God bless y'all. Take care.